Okay, so why do I got picks laying here? Well, and why am I setting a lockdown? Because we are gonna try something out here. Uh, and let me hold this up so you can see. Um, this is, in my opinion, a knockoff. It's Chinese. It came from Aliexpress, and it's what would be called a jackknife. It is in my opinion, knockoff of like the Covert Companion or one of the other style jackknives that you'll find whenever, wherever, however. Pretty expensive usually. I think the cheapest higher end ones kind of made like this are in the 40, 50, $75 range. And then the newest that I know of is the Covert Companion Pro, which is like $150. And so this right here calls itself a house shit tools. House shit tools. House shit tools. House shit tools. Made in China. I don't know. That just sounds wrong. But so what I've got is I've got some a lock here, and I have not used this tool to open it. And I'm just going to do some raking. I mean, I'm not going to do a single pin pick because, I mean, I haven't picked this lock at all, single pin, and the best I could probably hope for is embarrassing myself. So anyway, we're going to do some raking. If I can hold the lock in my hand correctly. Well, you know what? There we go. Finally. Took a second. Uh, I just can't hold it. I was holding too much tension on it like that. Let's try it this way. Excuse me. It's back open again. So that is with this three hump tool, like a Bogota. Bogota's four, I think. And this one is primarily what I've found and used over the years to rake locks. Uh, and really just anything. Now, let's try it again with this one. I think this is an old Sparrows pick. I think this is like part of a Reaper set or something like that. And this is three humps, but it's a larger, heavier profile. And of course, it is locked. So, I mean, I don't really need to prove that to you. It doesn't matter. So, let's see if I can pick it with this one. And so, it's pretty simple to pick the lock, or it seems to be anyway. So, let's set these off to the side. And like I said, I purposefully not used this tool because I want to see if I can do that. So I can even take these super cheap rakes like that, which I can't find my little cheap kit. Um, Here's one. Ooh, ouch. Like that right there. This is just a super cheap kit. I bought a whole bunch of them years ago. And because I would break them, tear them up, didn't care, throw it away, grab another kit and get the parts out of it I used, which this is what I use the most. But heck, let's just give it a shot. And back in there. So, and there's probably no security pins in that lock. I don't know. I think it's an old utilities lock. I cleaned it up. Looks really good. Um, So let's look at some of the tools in here. I don't think there's any rakes. Yeah, there's a city rake. And you know what? The city rake. Okay, that is one that I've never really managed to open a lock, which I think would be fine for small locks, jury box locks, or anything of that real small nature. Um, and if y'all find this picking stuff interesting, I may do more videos. I started doing some videos and then I quit, and then I may try some more. But I've never had much luck with this. I just don't want to carry them on my pick kits because I don't get much luck at them. They don't give me no love. Well, that just tells me that this lock is extremely easy to pick. So let's go to the other rakes. And I got some really freaky looking rakes in here. So we're going to just kind of look at them. Which these two right here, this wave rake, and this is, I guess, a modified wave. I could see a lot of help or usefulness in these right here. And I have some of these. I think this kit right here came with the triple peak, the double peak, wave rake, and some funky looking stuff like this. And so these style right here, the really weird looking stuff, I've had luck opening security locks of all things. In other words, locks with security pins in them. And that's basically what you've got in a lock to help keep you from being able to rake it. It almost forces you to pick it, which I don't know if I still have. I do. Right here. So I work in an environment where we use lockout tagout. And this is an old American lock that had to be cut off for whatever reasons. And this is the style locks we use. So we have to cut one off. I'll grab it instead of throwing it away and take it home, because I'll work on trying to pick them. And I suck at picking these things. The little tiny pins, and they're security pins with serrations and barrels and everything else in there. And I just can't get lockpicking lawyer can pick it. Lockpicking lawyer can just have a little night dream, not even a nightmare, a dream about one of these, and they just pop open next to him. I mean, literally, that guy can think about opening one of these locks, and it opens because it's just afraid he's going to come over there and pick it. It's like, I think he did 21 or 75 in 30 seconds or something one time. That guy's amazing. So anyway, he's also the cause of me spending a lot of money. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So let's just start with the, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 peak. 4 peak, whatever that is. And it's open. I mean, if that thing will open it, then probably any of them will open it. We're going to try this one next, this wave rake. And I'll kind of explain to you what I'm doing here to rake this in just a minute. Well, that one's kind of tight. Oh, I thought I had it. We sure keeps feeling like I got it. There we go. And I got it. And so let's try one of these funky cold Medinas here. Okay, so I'm just getting that stuck in the keyway. So let's try, where's the other one? Maybe a little better luck than this one. That heavy drop right back here is interfering, trying to get the turning tool and the rake in the lock together. Okay, and we got it. So I guess you can breathe on this thing or holler at it or something, and it'll open. Uh, so raking. How and I've actually got a couple of videos where I've been hired to or asked to go to some rental properties. I used to work for the company, and they still get me from time to time to rekey locks for them and stuff like that. Um, and so they've asked me to go by some places where the tenant's gone and they left it locked and they can't get in there, or they wouldn't turn the key back in. And so they needed for me to get in there and change the locks, rekey them or rekey them and make new keys and give it to the property owners so they can get back into the apartment. And I've did a couple of videos showing how quickly those can be raked. And quick set. Now slage is a little bit harder. The keyway is harder to deal with, even with raking. But I had, in the beginning when I was working for them, I started by just picking, and that would take me sometimes a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes to pick one of those locks, a slage or a quick set. And when Bosnian Bill, him and lockpicking lawyer, I started watching videos on raking, and I was like, man, let me try that. And so I sucked at it. I couldn't rake a lock for nothing. I couldn't do it to save my life. And the more I did it and the more videos I watched with both of those guys, I learned more and more about it. And I finally got the knack of it. And now I can rake a lock in a few seconds in most cases. Sometimes it might take a little longer, and quickset and slage are usually the easiest ones. Quickset being the easiest one. So it's all in the technique. The more stressed you are and the faster you're wanting to do it, the longer it's going to take you. Because what you're basically doing, see, when I first put this in there, I grabbed it wrong. I was doing like that. And that's how I normally try to hold a lock. Except, I mean, I'm doing it like this right here, tensioning the lock, and I'm getting in here picking. Or I've got a top of the keyway in there, which would be, kind of up here, and I'm picking from the bottom, trying to open the lock. But I'm holding this because I'm trying to do it easy so you can see me doing it. You don't really need to see me going in there, but you need to see it from the side, because it's all in your tension. It's in this piece right here, this tool right here, that you can rake a lock easy. Because and Bosnian Bill showed it easy. You see how I've got that indentation right there? So if you press on this so hard that you've got a really good indentation in your finger for a minute or so after you finish trying to pick it, you're putting too much tension. You're putting too much pressure. And so what I found with raking is you like with this keyway, this lock has a spring tension on the lock itself. So you turn it all the way and let go of the key will pop back this away. So the only thing that you're wanting to do here is put enough tension that you overcome the spring tension in the lock. And these American locks, they'll have the same thing, especially with the serrations. It makes them even extra hard, unless you're lockpicking lawyer. So what you're trying to do is, I'm I'm in here trying to rake. In other words, this is the motion that I'm doing. Maybe this pick's easier for you to see. I'm going in, out, and then I'm going up, back. I'm going back, in. I'll first try to just work it in and out and slowly come up on the lock or the keyway as I work it straight back in and out. And if I don't feel anything, then I'll start trying to rake it back like this right here, coming out. And then I'll start trying to go in forward like this. And so these are kind of in a sine wave that matches the keyways a lot and the pins that are in there across a lot of different types of locks. And so you're kind of like forcing the locks, pins to the shear line. And so your tension here, the harder you hold this, you may overset one and then it never comes back down and you'll never rake the lock. Or you may not be pushing one up high enough. So that's why you're kind of working this all around, just fiddling, flipping and flopping up in there. But with this right here, you want to have just enough tension that you see that cylinder barely moving. Okay. So I'm putting enough pressure on it to get that cylinder to move just slightly. And I stop. I don't put any more on there. And I'm raking in here. When I get a pin set, I can feel it drop. It almost just drops out from underneath my finger. And then so I hold that tension, maybe just a little more, and I keep on going. And I may feel it drop a couple of times before it opens. But when I start feeling that drop, I know I'm fixing to get the lock open. And so I'm letting this basically, I feel the pressure that I've barely got on there, just enough to start turning that cylinder. And then I'm just filling and farting, raking in there, filling around. And when I feel this drop out from underneath my finger, the pressure releases somewhat. And it's very minute. You have to just do this enough times that you can feel that. I can't explain it. Keep on going. And then when you start feeling that happen on a regular basis, start bouncing it. And coming back up. Don't come lighter than you are, but just bounce it, testing to see if it's loose. Because a lot of times with these spring locks, you'll have it picked, but until you really put some pressure on here, you won't know it. Because the cylinder will go ahead and turn. Because once it passes the shear line, then you've got the full force of the spring on there, and it's stronger. And so you have to put even more force to go ahead and turn the cylinder. So that's one thing. And then if I'm having, and I've raked a bunch of locks, house locks and regular locks with security pins. And what you have to do is kind of get a feel for that. If you don't get no love like this, then sit here and bounce on it just slightly as you're raking, in and out, doing whatever. Just slightly bounce on that. And if you've gone for a little while and nothing happens, completely let up on it, and you will feel or hear the pins dropping back down again. And then start over again. But light tension. On this bar, you want the least amount of tension you can possibly put on there and still turn the cylinder. And so that's the trick to raking a lock. And then it's just simply easy to rake. Now, the thing about it is, in most places, you can go to jail just for having this. So you need to check your own local laws and regulations before you buy anything like this. Because, like I said, these things right here, even in Louisiana where I live, it's not illegal for you to have them. But if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you get an extra charge. So let's explain that for a second, because we really need to go over this part of it. Because first of all, you should never touch a lock that don't belong to you. You should never try to open a vehicle, a home, or anything else without permission from the owner. Now, hear this about rental properties. When a person rents a property, they own that property, but the tenants that are there, they have domain over that property. And so you have permission from the owner to go in, but you can get arrested for trespassing by the tenant who is there, because that's their home. So you have to check your laws. Because in a lot of cases it changes. And in some states or a lot of states, you have to be a licensed locksmith to even own any picking tools. In Louisiana, you can have them, you can own them, you can pack them, you can carry them around with you. That's fine. You piss a cop off, and you're in trouble because, and I don't mean that any police officer is out to get you. In my opinion, and in all the dealings I've had with police officers, more than I want, kin to a whole lot of police officers, they don't have anything against you until you give them a reason, and that's when you start doing something wrong. Then they got a real big reason to have something against you. That is 99% of the police officers out there. 1% it's not, but 99% it is. And so the what I'm getting at with all of this is if you happen to be hunting on property and you accidentally get off and suddenly you're trespassing, but you don't realize you're trespassing, but you're still trespassing. If the police are called and you get arrested, they find this, then you have attempted burglary as well as trespassing. If you are walking through a lot where something happened at night by a place of business and the police are investigating a robbery and they come by and pick you up because you're in the vicinity, you are a suspect, and this makes you guilty of breaking and entering or attempted breaker and entering. So you have to be careful. You don't necessarily want to just pack these things around. And I've packed this one forever because of how simple it is. Here's the turning tool that's built into it. And it just basically slides up in there like that, and everything holds together. I lost the screw, just I forget what size screw goes in there. But and this right here, I've used it a lot of times, but there's no rake on it. It's really goofy picks, and so I haven't. Well, you know what? It's going to aggravate me. So what you end up with on this one is the abominable city rake that first time I've opened something with it was here. And then you got this right here. I don't know what you call this, like a little snake. I've always called it. But you can rake with it. And now that I know how to use them and to rake, I can rake locks open with this. And that's what I'll use to get into places. And this is like an extended reach pick. And I use it a lot. This is a deep hook I've used a lot. This is a diamond that you can use in some cases, and even to pick, what are those? I forget what kind of locks they're called, but that'll work with them. And this is another form of a rake. It's like a half moon. I think this might be what this is called. And they got some of it's completely round on the end, but still, this right here, I don't have a whole lot of use with. I haven't used it a lot, but I have opened locks with it. And so this is kind of a neat tool, but it's got shortcomings, and I never got around to driving the pin out and putting really good picks in there. But it's small and compact and great. This right here would be great. This is going to go in my little kit if it's not so cheap a Chinese steel that it bends up and destroys itself. But because of the stuff that I've got on here, but there's even some stuff on here I've kind of glanced at that I probably wouldn't want to leave. So let's go over some of the stuff on here. Of course, here's the city rake. We've talked about that. And here's the first time I've had any luck with it. But I usually always try to get it out when I have little tiny locks that I can't fit anything else in. And then this right here is like a feeler gauge. It's a you can a lot of times slip this in between combination locks and open them because you can get to the mechanism in there with this. And this right here is kind of like a little bypass tool. I don't know the exact name of it. I mean, I'm not a lock picking guru, but I enjoy doing it for a hobby. And this right here is kind of a medium hook, which that's a pretty stout one. And so I think that would be pretty good. I don't know what the thickness on these are. Let's see if I can measure it. 20 thousandths, and that shim is like, it's not even a thousandths. Or no, seven, what would that be? 7 thousandths? Anyway, so it appears that's 30 thousandths, 20 and a half thousandths. So you're probably, the cheapness of these is why you get the inconsistent size, but you're probably dealing with primarily 20 thousandths tools, which is primarily what I pick with. If you can't fit the pick in there, you want to use the thickest, heaviest pick that you can use, that you can fit in the keyway and maneuver inside the keyway. Otherwise, you need to go to smaller ones. I need to find my tools because I've got some nice Peterson stuff, even more from different brands and manufacturers that I really like. But anyway, I'll find them eventually. So this is warded picks. And so what these are for, you'll notice, or the old style locks that have like the little sawtooth opening that you put this little funny key that's got all these little square cuts on each side of it. Then you shove it down in there and you turn it and it unlocks. Well, most people don't know that those locks, the only thing that unlocks them is the bottom two or the bottom one little turn. The rest of the stuff, the cutouts up here, are just warded sections that have to match that keyway to be able to turn. And so they're not even needed to open the lock. You just need these last two or one piece on the stem to unlock those locks. And so this will get down far enough to hit the mechanism and you turn it. This would be on smaller ones and this would be on larger locks. And then you've got two on some locks that you have to hit and manage. And so, of course, smaller and larger. And so that's basically just the pattern that you are dealing with here. And so these, I guess I would leave them on there, but I would be tempted if I needed to take them off and put something else, because I hardly ever come across these locks. I mean, they're just not made that much anymore and they're not used that much. Those same style locks with the little laminate layers are a lot of times just master locks. And those you can holler boo or tap the side of it with a hammer just right and they open up. As a matter of fact, I think Master Lock hated Bosnia and Bill. They threatened to sue him a bunch of times, or so I was told, because he didn't like Master Locks because they were so easy to get through. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So here you've got comb picks. Why are they called comb picks? Because they look like a comb. And what this is designed to do is to go in and lift the pins above the shear line, the entire pin stack and everything, which only certain locks you can do that, and get it above the shear line and turn. This right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 pins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 pins. So this would be more like a quick set or potentially some Slages, Slage, and then other locks in those series. Now, this tool is very deficient in the fact that it doesn't have a 4-pin one. And I would almost be tempted to take one of these off, or one of these off potentially, and to make it work, because you can't have more combs than you do pins that are in the keyway. So you'll see that, or let's look at it against this. So with each dip like this is a pin. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Not the points you see here, but the dips. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the valleys. So these, and most of the normal master locks, are 4 pins. And so, and I guess maybe they're just thinking, don't worry with the master lock because they're just so easy to get by. Anyway, so let me see something here. This lock's so easy to get into, it can. So this has got, it feels like it's got 4 in there. I don't know, it might have 5. And I may not be able to get it in the keyway. Struggle to get it in there. And I'll show you the disadvantage in just a second. And it doesn't look like it's going to match up. And so that's one of the things that you'll come across is you see these are much narrower than these. So usually like a 4-pin will be larger right here, full size. The spacing is what I mean. And you have basically, they got to be a certain length to get into a 6-pin lock. So you can't really have really wide, I guess, gaps in there as with a 6-pin. And so uniformly they're smaller, but I don't come across a whole lot of these 6-pin that you can actually do this. I've taken a pick like this many times and got it in there and pushed all the pins up, but they wouldn't be high enough to actually turn the cylinder. But what you're doing basically is, I don't know, let's see here. So to explain, this is what's called the Bible. I don't really like that term, but anyway, this is called the Bible. And this is your cylinder. And so you'll see in here, you've got pins that are about somewhat this length, a little shorter, but like that. And so you're taking and you have to push them up. There's a spring up here, and there's a top pin and a bottom pin inside here. These are slightly rounded to match the key. Their length is just perfect so that those cutouts in that key make every one of these pins in here, the very top side of them are perfectly lined up at this point right here. And these pins are above this point, which hits the shear line is straight across, allowing the cylinder to turn. That's how a lock works. And so these will go in and lift it above that line, and it'll allow you to actually open the lock, which I don't know, this is a Slade. See if I can get in there. Yeah, see, I'm pushing it up, but I just can't get it high enough to meet that that deal to push it in. So anyway, that's the point of these comb picks, is to push all of the pins, even this bottom one, above that shear line. And the bottom of these pins are kind of slightly rounded, so you don't have to get them perfectly in line with the shear line, but close enough to where they'll catch and push on up as you turn the cylinder. But whenever a lock is done right with security in mind, you don't have enough room up here for the bottom pins and the top pins and the spring to come all above the shear line. And so that's where a comb pick is at a disadvantage, to where it will not work. They have to physically be able to push them all above it. Now I got it all lined up and pushed them up, but I couldn't get beyond that point because everything was all bound up here and there was no more room left to push it on up. And then there's some situations to where they've got tools that burglars can push up in there and hit it. Well, locksmiths, but burglars take them. that will actually force those pins up and knock this top plate off, which is what's sealing all the springs in. Now, on this lock, it's actually crimped in place. But in a lot of locks, especially the cheap quick sets and any of the other ones, this is all not brass, it's pot metal. And that plate is just barely in there to begin with. And so you end up with a, you can knock it off. And in that way you can open it up. And so the cone picks, they're useful on certain locks. I'm not going to tell you what locks, and some locks you'd be very surprised at how useful they are or easy they are to open those locks that you wouldn't think with these picks right here. And then this one, I don't really remember what this is. I think this is like a bypass tool. If I remember right, I think some of the Americans, you can get up in there, which if this is warded, it won't do it. I can't get it in there, so it might not be the correct tool I'm thinking about. And actually, I do have another tool that's perfectly made for it. But if this was a little shorter, you get it up in there and catch that actuator and turn it, and that's what the actual cylinder is turning. This part up here is turning inside of one of those locks. But they'll usually have a disc up there that will not allow you to get to that point. You get to the end of the keyway and it stops. But this is some kind of a bypass tool. I don't remember the details on it, but that's what that is a bypass tool. Now, on this side right here, you got another one kind of like that. I can't imagine that this would be what all the details are with that piece right there. I mean, you real locksmiths and lockpickers out there, tell me what these are actually called, because I don't remember. And here you have I'm going to have to call it a shallow pick. It's still pretty deep, even for a shallow pick. But I've only seen 2 actual picks on this whole kit. And so you've got one that's, where's it at? Let me just find it. This one right here, that you can see that profile is pretty up there, so you can get up in there and push a pin pretty high. This one right here, you're limited as to how far you can push it up, but a lot of times you don't have much room in there, and so you can't use a pick with a deep hook because you can't get by there without oversetting a pin. So that right there is just what I'm going to call a medium or small shallow hook. Then you've got over here, this is a blade. It's another bypass tool that you can get into. It's a heavier one than the other one I pulled out. The other one was very thin. This one is, this one's 1/1000. The other one wasn't even 1/1000. Check that again. Yeah, this one's 1/1000. Or 10/1000. I'm sorry, this one's 10/1000. And the other one would have been just under 1/1000. Go off. Go off. Go off again. Okay. Are you just not going to go off? I don't know. I guess you have to convince it. So that's another bypass tool, a shim tool or something to get in there to bypass the locking mechanism on a lock. This one is another kind of like the one over there. This is a diamond, and you can pick certain locks with it, or you can rake with it. I don't really use them. I don't have a lot of use for them. I haven't had a lot of luck with them. They're on there, and I would replace this with something else given the opportunity. And again, we talked about these a minute ago. These are just some kind of weird, just a weird something. I don't know what to call those, but they are somewhat of a pattern that Sparrows, I think, had on this or one of. They had 2 or 3 of these pick sets, and I got them all. And I think one of them was a Reaper, and one of them was like a rising sun. What it is, you set these picks all beside one another, and there was one whole beautiful picture that was painted across all of the picks. But these right here, I would probably keep, just because when I am frustrated and all out of options, I try stuff like this right here, and sometimes it works. And so weird stuff, have weird stuff with you. But these right here, I don't know what to call them, but they are rakes. And then you have these two, like I said, that's a wave rake or snake rake. And this right here is another style of a wave rake, because it looks like waves. This is more of a snake rake, I think would be the proper term for it. But these are raking tools, and a lot of luck with tools like this right here. A lot of times these sharper peaks work better, and then sometimes you have to use one that uses duller or more rounded peaks, and at a different pattern, closer waves together. It just depends. I've had to use multiples of different kinds. Cars, vehicles, Fords, a lot of Fords, old style Fords. This right here, my daughter has locked her keys in. She had a little Ford Focus, I think it was, and she was at a friend's house. She locked her keys inside. Daddy, I need your help. All right, sweetheart, get there. Yeah, you know which one you are. The black car. Yes, she watches my videos. So you get in there and just kind of fiddle with this right here, same way you would with a rake, because it's actually pins on top and bottom. And that's how I got into a car, with one like this right here. And then this right here is just another variant, but you will only work with a situation to where you only have one set of pins. Now, I keep calling those pins, but they're not. Usually in a vehicle, they're wafers and not pins. So, I mean, this video is not intended to try to teach you how to pick locks. I don't even know what the legal repercussions to that are. So I'm not trying to give any instructions or anything like that. But what I'm trying to do is to kind of explain to you what this kit right here. And so it seems like a pretty decent kit. It works. I got a lock open. And so I think it's a pretty decent kit. Just for giggles, let's see. This ain't going to happen. There's no possible way. But let's see if I can rake. Where's that city rake at? Where's the city boy? Come here, city boy. Where you at, city boy? I need my city boy. There's the city boy. That's my city boy. All right. Come on, city boy. Now, this is way too thick. Let me get a smaller. The Sparrow's kit is usually what I will use when I'm packing a kit around. And these are windshield wiper. The little metal insert that goes in a windshield wiper, that's what them are. I use that stuff a lot. And a lot of times, like this small in a keyway, it's too small for the keyway, but when you have a long one like this, and you get it all the way down in there, you can still get some leverage to do something. Now, you see how I just spun that around? That's not going to work. Do I have a medium? There we go. Here's a medium. That's not going to work. I'm going to have to try to use the big one. Okay, what I'm trying to do is see if I'm moving that cylinder, because you can get in the bottom of a keyway and bind against the outside edge of the of the cylinder, and you think you're putting pressure on it and trying to turn it, but you're not, because it's bound up. All right. Anyway, like I said, these always kick my butt. So sometimes you can rake and get a lock to almost open and then finish picking it. So I'm gonna give this without knowing how well the steel will hold up, because the cheaper, and that's where they actually get you with cheap stuff, is in the steel being super cheap and weak, which causes it to uh, bend and mess up. And so, how does this feel? I guess this is aluminum or steel. It feels pretty solid. It's got some weight to it. They have this one pick that has a loop on it for a keychain, but this is not something I would carry on a keychain. That's useless. It spends so much time all flayed out like it and getting bent up, it wouldn't be worth it. And that's another reason why I wouldn't carry it in my pocket, because it'll open up and do whatever. So I know this has probably been a long video. Oh goodness, 47 minutes. But hopefully you got a good idea as to what usefulness this is. And regardless, you can still take regular real picks and drill a hole in them and mount them in here in place of these picks. Just use 20 thousandths for the most part. And you can still make this a quality high end, because the casing, the outside shell, as long as it'll hold the picks, who cares? I mean, it holds them. And you've got screws on here so you can adjust the tension to give more tension to your tools. The disadvantage to one of these right here is the fact that there's no lockup whatsoever. So you're holding the tool, or you're trying to get in there like this and pick with it, and that's almost impossible. So really the rakes in a tool like this is useful. But the single pin picks, until you are a master, until you're Bosnian Bill or lockpicking lawyer, picking upside down, hanging by your feet from the edge of a terrace with a ticking bomb next to your head like Bosnian Bill, and you're opening this stuff up. Getting it open, you're not going to pick many locks at that weird fleeky angle. So, do I recommend it? Yes, I give it not 2 thumbs. I just give it a thumbs up, because I don't know about the steel. I don't know if it's real stainless steel. I don't know what the strength of it is or anything like that. So I may even give it way less than that. But at the worst case scenario, this was $21. At the worst case scenario, I have the casings and the structure to build a quality kit exactly like I want, just like the Covert Companion that you can build on it. And I would be willing to bet you can probably take those expansion packs you can get for the Covert Companion and stick them in here, which that's a thought. They were out of the Covert Companion, so I didn't get to order it. But you could buy the case for like $7, and that would be this part right here. So even at $7, that's almost half of what I paid for this. So I definitely recommend it. You can get some use out of it. So before, look, just wake up. I'm ending the video, so wake up and listen to me end the video. So look, I enjoy these videos. I enjoy spending time with you. I love doing this, and I appreciate you guys being around. And so I thank you, and I will see you on the next one. Your time is very important to me, and I thank you for spending it here with me. Thanks, and God bless.